With us this morning to review the papers is author and broadcaster Emma Wolf and anthropologist Mary-Ann Ochota. And there they are. Great to have both of you here. Thank you very much indeed. Let me start with you then, Mary-Ann. Just looking through, starting off with the Sunday Telegraph. This is an interesting one, isn't it? It has here the front page, as we can see, Home Secretary Suella Braverman could soon block injunctions by the European Court of Human Rights to stop flights carrying migrants from being deported from the UK.
So it's going to be quite a busy day, basically, on tomorrow, on Monday. There's a meeting at number 10 for basically the Home Secretary to work out whether, before the bill then goes back to the House of Commons in the afternoon session, this bill on the illegal migration question, is it possible for the government to basically block the use of courts preventing asylum seekers from being deported to Rwanda while they're claiming a human rights challenge? So at the moment, they can't be taken to Rwanda if there is a pending human rights challenge. But the consideration by Suella Braverman is, can they basically create a kind of, they say fix a loophole, some people say create a loophole such that it blocks that aspect of the European Court of Human Rights jurisdiction so that people could still be put on planes and sent to Rwanda, even though there's a pending claim over whether this is in breach of their human rights. There's a split in the House of Commons. There's a collective of 60 Tory MPs who say that this is absolutely necessary in order for the UK to get a grip on the immigration crisis, that as it stands, the illegal immigration bill is too weak. But then you've got a whole load of other MPs saying it's not weak, it's too harsh. What we need are safe routes for refugees. At the moment, we've got safe application routes for people from Ukraine, for people from Afghanistan, and people from Hong Kong. But if you're from another country, there is no safe and legal means to apply for asylum in the UK. What Rishi Sunak is saying is we need to sort out the small boats crisis before we implement any other safe and legal routes. Other MPs are saying that's kind of the wrong way round. You need to offer safe and legal routes before you shut down these, or at the same time as packing people off on planes to Rwanda as a kind of means of fixing this problem. I mean, fundamentally, I think this doesn't get fixed overnight, even though some of the legal questions will be wrestled with in the short term, certainly. But, I mean, this is on the back of surveying of the British public, who say that 57% of voters think that the projected net migration of 245,000 people by 2027, so those aren't the figures in 2023, but by 2027, there'll be about a net increase in the UK population from people who are migrating in by about 245,000. And 57% of people are saying that's too high. 71% of Tory voters think that's too high. So the big question is, how does this play with the ballot box, really?
Okay, Mary-Ann, we're going to move on. Let's move on to Emma. And Emma, this story here, looking at the Sunday Times here. And it's an interesting one, actually, strip searches of children as young as 8 years old. And this really takes me back to last year in the story of Child Q, which brought this sort of horror story really to light.
Yeah, just to recap, that was actually 2020 Child Q, of I think a 15-year-old girl was who was actually menstruating at the time. Was strip searched quite intrusively. This today in the Sunday Times is a report from the Children's Commissioner, Dame Rachel de Souza, and she reveals that children are routinely being stopped and strip searched. Around a quarter of these children are 10 to 15 years old, and some are as young as 8 years old. This is being seen as a widespread abuse of police power. And there's a really worrying racial element as well in this. Black children are 6 times more likely to be strip searched And of course, this comes in the week after Dame Louise Casey's report, very damning report, which branded the Metropolitan Police as institutionally racist. And I think it's a real, this is a time of real crisis in terms of trust in our policing system. Policing has to happen by consent. And when you have police apparently abusing their power for vulnerable people, children, below the age of 16, we're talking about children, 10 to 15 years old. So Dame D'Souza is saying that the police should only strip search children, should stop and strip search children in a life and death situation. She's calling on the police, on chief police officers to get their act together. And she says, many times these strip searches are not being carried out in compliance with the rules. Children are being collected from police stations. One young boy the parents were not even told that he had been strip searched 4 times, and he didn't tell his mummy. There's meant to be an appropriate adult present. In around half of cases, there is not another appropriate adult present. And I'm afraid when you see the abuse that we've seen from police officers in the Met and other forces, that's not acceptable, not to have an adult present. So, this is really, Dame Rachel D'Souza says that these findings kept her awake at night. And I think, they'll be keeping many people awake at night as the report comes out.
Absolutely, absolutely horrific to see that this is going on. And actually talking about the police, let's stick with the issue of the police then, Marianne, because the police officer who used to protect Kate there, saying that she fears that there could be more officers like Wayne Couzens out on the streets. This doesn't fill the public with much confidence, does it?
No, but as Emma points out, maybe that's actually a good reflection of the trust that we ought to have in our police officers. It's an incredibly difficult job, and there are some amazing individuals working there. But as Emma says, Dame Louise Casey's report came out last week saying that the Met Police is... she says there's a wall of silence, that they're disillusioned by their own power, and they're institutionally racist, misogynistic and homophobic. This interview is with Ricky Haruna, who joined the Met in 2002. She's a very highly rewarded officer, commended for her work in complex burglaries, in protecting Kate Middleton, in investigating crimes, responding to 999 calls. And she said that she believes that there may be another Wayne Couzens out there, or David Carrick, because there's a wall of silence that protects awful characters like this, that institutionally within the culture of the Met, people are allowed to thrive, and those warning signs, those small behaviours that indicate something isn't quite right, that something needs to be addressed, are ignored or covered up so that people can flourish. Bad behaviour can flourish, and give those people power and a badge, and feel that they are not just they're the law, they're above the law. Bad things are going to happen.
Absolutely. And let me come to you then on the topic of the law, Emma, because there's this new... Rishi Sunak due to announce this new crime blitz, if you like, proving controversial because some people are not very comfortable with this idea. What's your take?
Yeah, so this is Rishi Sunak's crime blitz to try to appeal to red wall voters, to try and woo back his red wall voters. He's had a good week. There's a sense that he's had a good week since Boris Johnson did his disastrous investigation hearings at the Commons. So this is a positive week for the Prime Minister to launch his new law and order blitz to try and appeal to traditional Conservative voters in the red wall. He's now going to announce tough action to punish yobs. This is the Express, not my language, that punish yobs who terrorise neighbourhoods. Vandals will be put in jumpsuits. They'll be forced to wash police cars and to clean up graffiti, things like that. And obviously this is at a time when his personal approval ratings, the Prime Minister's personal approval ratings, are on the up and up. He's seen as having a good week, a good bounce from Boris's sort of demise or humiliation. And also the small boats policy, which we've sort of referred to already, the small boats policy that's coming for the Commons is, or being battled out in the Commons at the moment, is playing very well with voters. So he's trying to seize the initiative and, crack down and talk about antisocial behaviour. And, to be more serious, these are important issues. Antisocial behaviour are the issues that terrorise communities and make everyday life miserable for a lot of people. So, this is Rishi taking the initiative.
Absolutely. And as I was saying there, some people feel that it could lead to some sort of a disproportionate targets of certain demographics of our community. And I can see you shaking your head there, Mary-Ann. We don't have much time at all on that, but this is something that, we don't have much time at all, but let's save that thought. Let's save that thought. We'll come back to you.
You're right.
We'll come back to you in the next hour, so don't go too far. And we'll see you after this very short break.